Good morning, Europe. Good afternoon, India and Middle East, and good evening, Singapore and Hong Kong. My name is Yuvraj Thakur, and I am here to present you another webinar from the Verifavia's Impact and How to Prepare series. We have a few people arriving as we speak, but we won't wait further, and we will start our webinar presentation. This time, the topic of our webinar is CII and EU ETS, the impact of the regulation and how do we prepare for the regulation. A team of experts here will take you through the presentation. We have Mr. Nicholas Dushan, President of Verifavia SAS. We have myself, Yuvraj Thakur, who's the General Manager and VP Commercial for Verifavia shipping activities. Our EU MRV managers and lead auditors, Mr. Shubham Jan, who will present the dashboard to you, and Mr. Rajat Bishnoi. He is going to take the final part of the presentation and present you the EU Q&A, the question and answer round around EU ETS. At the onset, I would like to create a couple of rules. Number one, let us be very clear that you will all receive the presentation. So people who are on the webinar, people who have registered, people who are arriving, will send the presentation of this particular webinar to everyone involved. And number two, just for the interaction to be very lively, please post your questions. And if you have repetitive questions, please like the question that somebody else has posted. What we are going to do at the end is we're going to take the top 3 or the top 4 questions for now, given that we only have 1 hour, and we're going to respond to those 3 or 4 questions. So in case you have a similar question, please like the question that somebody else has started. And please continue while I speak, please continue, or while my colleagues speak, please continue posting your questions on the chat bot. Our team is picking them up and they will reply to them. As I said, here are your presenters. And here is the agenda of our presentation and webinar today. We'll first explain the process and success of Verifavia from the year 2018. Then we'll showcase you our reach and presence across the globe. Where are we, where we are not, where we are available. Then coming on to the technical topic and the commercial needs of the market. These 3 sections will be presented by myself. The regulatory information, what is coming on the EU MRV amendments, what is CII, what it brought into the picture, and what is EU ETS and its requirements. They would be presented by Mr. Nicholas Dushan. Then Mr. Shubham Jain, he will present you the verification dashboard, the process that Verifavia has set in according to the needs of the market that are turning up. And finally, Mr. Rajat Bishnoi, he will take up the section of why we choose Verifavia shipping. And he will take the best, like I said, the best 3 or 4 questions right at the end. Side by side on the chat bot, please continue with your questions so that our team can pick those up and give you responses. As we all know, we are not a very old company. As a young company, as the challenger to the market, Verifavia started in the year 2018 with only one service, which was EU MRV, with only one offering. Today, we are proud to say that we have 28 offerings in the market. But essentially, we started 2018 with monitoring plan assessment as our first service. And we challenged the traditional, the traditional people, the traditional regulatory authorities on the market. And the first year, 2018, we ended up with close to 1,800 vessels. In the year 2019, we went and we came back with IMO DCS approvals, and we started IMO DCS verification services, which are today running with close to 900 vessels. 2020 was the year when we started getting into IHM, inventory of hazardous material preparation, inventory of hazardous material platform, asbestos removal services, asbestos management plans. And today we are very happy to share that we have almost done more than 4,000 projects on the topic. EEXI and DPL was another challenge and need of the market that was thrown to us in 21. And we have responded with close to 750 calculations for EEXI, close to 32 odd projects for EPL, and then a couple of projects for Sharpoli. 2022, UK MRV regulation came in. Again, we were the first ones to go read the regulation, understand what it is, and present to you as the audience, to you as our clients, and let you know what are the requirements, which is the theme that we have maintained in the year 2023. and we are here to present you the CII requirements as well as your EU ETS requirements, which will be very well described during the course of this presentation. So as you can see, over the years, we've been very upfront. We've been very proactive about the new and upcoming regulations and requirements that Verifavia is able to present to the market. Again, Verifavia, we started very small. We have an headquarters in Paris. We have another office in India and a couple in Singapore. But thanks to our IHM partnerships, thanks to our commercial partnerships, we are available at almost 90 ports globally. Right from the global north to the global south, right from global east to the global west, we could actually answer your needs for service, for preparations of IHM, for asbestos removals, for EPLs, and then there are other on the desktop kind of services, which are your verification services and preparation of your EEXI and EPL. Now we are going to dive right straight into the needs which have been very vocal, and the market has really changed over the course of the last couple of years. We have been looking at this change, and we understand that what is coming is the need of a voyage statement from ship owners, an accurate voyage statement with EU MRV and ETS data, along with your CII rating. Not only the ship owners, one step back, other stakeholders like the charterers, they are requesting verification to validate CII rating before and after completion of voyages. There are now multiple deadlines. There are BIMCO clauses coming up, which require you to be proactive, which require commercial decisions now will have some kind of a financial impact, which require you to have a very clear set of verified data. And all actors within the supply chain, all actors within the process, they would essentially benefit from the estimated and validated data regarding EU ETS allowances, CI rating for time, voyage, or spot charters, whatever your business style be. We believe that continuous verification will become a live process. It is something that would not be done at the end of the year. And you would need quality data. You would need to ensure that dedicated and right set of people, marine engineers, naval architects, they're working on your data and ensuring that your data quality is maintaining and the continuous verification process is ongoing. It is continuing at all times. And how do you do this? At Verifavia Shipping, we have come up with a perfect blend of manual and automated data quality management process. We have team of experienced auditors who are all marine engineers, and they support, supervise, and maintain the quality of data. They ensure efficient feedback through continuous verification. So there's a very clear communication right on the dashboard. These are people who were on the other side, so they know how to liaise with the vessel crew to collect BDNs and to collect other regulatory documents required for the regulations such as MRV and ETS, such as CII and IMO DCS, which means that there would be a continuous update on the dashboard. And after these continuous update, the data, the correct data being logged, being verified, the data would be logged on the platform. And in case a change is seen or detected on the platform, the company would be notified. So the theme that we are focusing on as Verifavia is that you as a client, you should focus on your business. For everything else, there's Verifavia's team of EU MRV and verification experts who will take you through the process along with the regulatory hurdles, and we together will cross these hurdles. With this, I would now invite you for a poll on an important topic that will be on your screens now. The poll will be there for 30 to 45 seconds, and I'll share the results of this poll before handing over to the floor to my colleague, Mr. Nicholas Tushan. So can we have the poll, please? So as you can see that verified emissions report and verified emissions statement are the theme perhaps for the year 2023. So what do you think as users? What is the requirement? The severity of a verified emission statements per voyage, is it very high? Is it medium that you do not require it for all EU voyages, or is it low? that not many charterers would need this kind of statement. We will close the poll in the next 15 to 20 seconds, and then I'll share the results. We have had now a close to 100 responses on the poll, 120 now. Okay, Sacha, well noted that the poll is dropping out. I could actually take your response from high, medium, and low on the chat as well. But let us reach 150 responses and then we will close the poll, Gokul. 8 more responses to go. So six more responses to go. And here we are with 147 responses, with almost 150 responses. You can see that the severity of a verified emission statement per voyage is very high. A resounding 83% of you believe that you need a verified emission statement for your claims management with charterers. 13% believe that it is not required for all the EU voyages, and only 5% believe that not many charters would need. With this in mind, I leave the floor to Mr. Nicholas Dushan, who would take you through the requirements of the regulation. And I can really say that people are really on the topic that 82% believe that a verified emission statement would be needed on a per voyage basis. Thank you so much, and I'm here on the sideline if there is a query. Over to you, Nico.
Thank you very much, Yuvraj, and good day, everyone. It's good to see that we have spotted well the needs of the market, because we have also strong belief that more accurate voyage statements when it comes to emissions are going to become very important in the context of ETS and CII. And what I will do in the next few minutes, before my colleague Shubham shows you the tools and processes we have implemented to facilitate compliance, is a quick update on the emission trading system. Who are the key actors? What is it about? I will go then into a bit more details into the consequences for shipping and what are the deadlines, what is expected in the coming years, before describing quickly the yearly compliance cycle, because every year you will have to go through the same actions in order to maintain compliance. And to start with, one of the most important actors of EU emission trading system is, of course, the European Union, and in particular, the three bodies, which consist the European Union, which are the Commission, the Council, and the Parliament. So I will not go through the detailed legislative process of the EU. It's quite long, with interactions between the three parties. But at the end of the day, this EU trialogue is responsible for issuing directive, regulations, and decisions. What I will say, though, which is important to remember, is that emission trading system is a directive under the European Union, and a directive is an obligation of objective, an obligation of results, but it does not tell you how to reach that result, which means each member state of the EU, each country, has some flexibility in what tools, what means to put in place in order to achieve the objective of the ETS directive. So what does it mean in practice? It means that every member state has to appoint an administering authority, a legal body who will be responsible for, in this case, emission trading system. And it can be the Ministry of Sea, the Ministry of Transport, it can be the Ministry of Environment or Energy. Each country has the flexibility, because it's a directive, to appoint the most pertinent national body. So it's a big difference, because, for example, under EU MRV, it was a regulation, so everybody was using Thetis MRV for reporting CO2 emissions. But under ETS, there will be an additional step where, depending on the country you depend on, then your platform may be different. The role of the member state under ETS is to administer the greenhouse gases emitters. So they give final approval of monitoring plan. It's a new step on the process. They also give the final approval on emission reports. They administer carbon registries and I saw a question on how to open an account on carbon registry, so I'll answer it now. Basically, the process is similar to opening a bank account. So you will have to provide proof of identity to the carbon registry, and you will have to provide some legal document to justify that you are legal authorized person for the company for which you want to open an account. There may be some translation required, because if you depend from a registry in Croatia or Portugal, they may request some translation of some official documents. So the process is, it can be a bit long and a bit administrative, but it's similar to opening a bank account. When it comes to further responsibilities of member states, it's of course about enforcing the directive and the obligations. And so in case of continuous non-compliance, there may be sanctions, there may be penalties, and this will be enforced by the member state administering authorities. Of course, the emitters are important actors. So the ETS is not a new system. It exists since 2005. It was applied for fixed installations, so power stations, big power stations, or big power plants, cement factory, glass factory, chemical installations, oil refinery. They are all subject to emission trading system for many years. Aviation was included a bit more than 10 years ago. And the expansion of the system will continue, with waste incineration being included in 2026 and road and building in 2027. And of course, why we are here is because from 1st January 2024, emissions from ships in the scope of EU ETS will have to be compensated. So for each ton of CO2 under the scope of ETS, you will have to purchase an allowance and surrender, so transfer it back to the authority before the end of the year. Independent verifiers have a strong role to play, because their financial impact is quite important. Currently, 1 ton of CO2 is between 80 and 90 euros. So the financial value of the carbon emission is huge. And in order for this to be accurate, there has to be independent parties validating that there is a fair level field for all actors, in the same way that chartered accountants look into the financial accounts of company to confirm that the rules have been followed. For emissions, independent verifiers have the same responsibility. And of course, the traders are other key actors. So the trading of EU allowances is a bit similar to trading on financial market. And usually companies don't go and buy directly from the market, you go via a trader. You could become trader if you wanted to, but the standard way of getting allowances is to go via a trader. And there is a marketplace, which is the EEX marketplace, which won the contract for administering EU allowances for EU. It's dedicated to energy and environment products, and it's like a financial marketplace of standard nature. They offer various products for EU allowances, such as spot EUAs or options or futures. So depending on the time and effort you want to put into your financial compliance for allowances, you could have a simple strategy or a very advanced one. In any case, the traders will be there to help you and guide you toward what is most relevant for your situation. Now moving on to the regulatory update. And it's important, it's not the sexiest topic, but it's important because this is where requirements are coming from. So very quickly, EU MRV, most of you, I guess, are aware, it's been around since 2018. It's about monitoring, verifying, and reporting CO2 emissions for ships above 5,000 gross tonnage. There is an important update coming up, which is the extension of MRV to address other emission species, in particular methane, CH4, and nitrous oxide, N2O. There will be more details in acts, delegated and implemented acts, which we expect for October, so very soon. There will be deadline to have new MP approved on board. with description of procedure associated to CH4 and N2O. The EXIS extension is expected to take place from 1st Jan 2024, so very soon. And the year after, the system will be extended. So the MRV only, not ETS, but MRV will be extended to general cargo ships and offshore vessels, which are between 400 and 5,000 gross tonnage. And ETS now, well, it applies from 1st Jan 2024. So the first year for giving back allowances to the authority will be in 2025 based on emissions monitored during 2024. There is a phased-in approach, so it's quite quick because in 3 years, 100% of ETS emissions will have to be surrendered. But for the first year, so emissions of 2024, only 40% of the total CO2 emissions in the scope of ETS will have to be compensated, and 70% in 2025. So the scope. What is the scope? The scope is 100% of emissions for intra-EU voyages. So a ship traveling from Hamburg port to port of Dover, to port of Calais. It will have, it's a voyage from EU port to EU port, so all emissions corresponding have to be compensated. On the opposite, a voyage from a ship from Hamburg to port of Shanghai will have to compensate 50% of its emissions under the EU ETS because it's an extra EU voyages. There are some measures being taken to avoid carbon leakage, and in particular for container port, the ports which are within 300 nautical miles of EU borders will be considered as EU port to avoid making very short stop just before EU to limit the emissions under EU emission trading system. Again, there will be some publication of acts later this year, which will provide further clarification and confirm the current status of things. So ETS will be extended from 2026 to the surrendering of allowances for emissions of methane and N2O. So these two new gases, which have to be monitored from 2024, they are monitored without compensation obligation for 2 years, but afterwards you will have to also purchase and give back allowances for each of these emissions, in addition to CO2. And the system is going to be extended, so the emission trading system and the obligation of surrendering allowances is going to be extended to also offshore vessels greater than 5,000 gross tonnage from 2027. Nothing has been decided for ships between 400 and 5,000 gross tonnage for ETS. It's clear that emissions from these ships will have to be monitored, reported and verified, but no decision has been made regarding the compensation and so the purchase of allowances for emissions in EU ETS scope for general cargo and offshore vessels between 400 and 5,000 gross tonnage. So what does it mean in practice and what are the implications for shipping companies? So basically, every year you will have to take similar actions, and from starting with 2024 when it comes to ETS, because it's the first monitoring period. So from 1st of Jan, you have to monitor your emissions in accordance with the procedures and tools which have been described in your approved monitoring plan. And so the monitoring period is from 1st of Jan to 31st of December. What we are encouraging you to do is not to wait for the end to start the verification, but to do it continuously during that period. But in terms of legal deadlines, the final report for the year 2024 cannot be done before 31st because you don't know what will be the activity of the ship. From the 31st of December, you can do the final complete report for the year. you have to submit data to verifiers for IMO and CII by 31st of March. By 30th of April, your ETS report has to be verified and submitted on TETIS MRV. By 31st of May, you have to have the IMO DCS statement of compliance for the previous year, and also the IAPP certificate with the CII score for the vessel for that year. The deadline for surrendering allowances under ETS is 30th of September. So by 30th of September, you must have sufficient allowances to transfer for each ton of CO2 in the scope of ETS, transfer one allowance to your competent authority via the EU registry. Usually, the verifiers, they have to confirm the number entered in the carbon registry because this is the most important number. And so the mandate of verifier include checking on the registry what is the total number entered by the operator. Verifavia has been involved in emission trading system for more than 10 years, and we have already accounts with all registry in the world thanks to our aviation activities. So we are ready for that today. For the year 2024, it's 40% of emissions that will have to be compensated as per the phasing approach. So by 30 September 2025, you will have to buy at least 40% worth of allowances and have it on your registry account to transfer back to the authority. So maybe it's good to clarify that EU allowances, they can be purchased at any time, and you can buy some allowances today. They will be valid in 2025, they will be valid in 2026 and beyond. So you could start and you could buy allowances today. They will be valid for your compliance. However, it's a market mechanism, and nobody knows what's going to be the price of a ton of CO2 or the price of one EU allowance in the next years. 10 years ago, the price was €3, and today it's 80, 90 euros, and last year it was 100 euro. Next year, maybe it's 200 or maybe it's 50, nobody knows. But you can implement a strategy to limit the risk. Depending on what you believe, is it going to increase or is it going to decrease? The trend in the last years was clearly an increase in price, and the expectations for the future, they also tend to indicate that there will be an increase because more sectors will be involved and more sectors will need allowances. But you never know what happens. It's a market mechanism with demand being the king of the market. In any case, the exact quantity of allowances that you need will correspond to the CO2 emissions in the scope of ETS, and it will be confirmed by the verification for any given period. And what we strongly recommend you to do is to use Verifavia continuous verification approach, because it will allow you to understand exactly what is your exposure to ETS and how many allowances you need. And for each voyage, you know the exact quantity corresponding, and you can reciprocate the consequences to the charterer or to the owner, and at least you have some very frequently clear voyage statement verified with a clear number of CO2 emissions for that voyage. And then the actors involved in that voyage, you can deal with them directly based on robust, accurate, verified information. In addition, when you've been through continuous verification along the year, the final verification of the total report is a lot easier and a lot less cumbersome. I hope this was clear, and maybe it was a lot of information, but we are happy to take any question over the chat or during Q&A session or by email directly. And I would like now to open a new poll to understand a bit better the level of IT readiness of your operations. If you have been involved in shipping emissions for a couple of years, you have noticed this trend of and the importance of having more data and having better data. And So of course it can be done manually, but some level of automation, it always helps. And we would like to ask you to better understand where you're at. We'd like to ask you, how do you maintain data quality before submitting the data to verifier? And internal verification is mandatory. It's part of the process that you have to describe in the monitoring plan. There are various ways to do it. You can do it internally. You can do it via some contractor. You can do it with an IT system. You can do it with manual checks in Excel. You can do it otherwise. The level of automation and the level of effort that you want to put into checking the numbers can vary. But in any case, we strongly believe that continuous verification is helpful. And what we propose is systems that we have developed that will be combined to maybe existing systems that you already use using APIs to really facilitate the communication of data and to really optimize the verification process so that it relies on the data you already have, but using automation as much as possible. We have also been implementing machine learning and AI-based mechanisms, which my colleague Shubham will take you through in the next few minutes. Okay, thank you for contributing to the poll. We are now at 120 something responses. So I see that almost 60% of you have a dedicated IT system, which you are using for data monitoring and reporting. It's very good to see. And I think that this is really the way, having your IT system for monitoring the data and linking it with our system to really make the most of the current developments in IT. 15% of you do it manually, which I would presume would rely on Excel files and probably logbooks data, and 25% are outsourcing these initial verification steps. Very insightful. I would like to thank you for your attention, and I will now handle the control to my colleague Shubham Jain, experienced MRV IMO manager and lead auditor, and Shubham will explain you the approach that we have developed and will demonstrate the tools that we have put in place to facilitate and optimize your compliance effort. Thank you very much for your attention, and over to you, Shubham.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to all the participants who showed interest in our webinar, and thank you for your attention to the information that has been communicated to you. Thank you to my fellow presenters as well. So we will talk about that what is the current scenario of the data interactions and how Verifavia can help you in reducing the workload and getting the things done right on time and before. So we can see that right now, as per the current scenario, the most of the workload is on the technical manager and the superintendents, where they are responsible for getting the data from the ship, let it be on the IT system, then to carry out some checks to make sure that the data is free of errors, and then submit the data to verifiers like us, or to submit the data to flags, or to submit the data to Thetis. And again, if there are any separate reports to be submitted to the other stakeholders, then again, it has to be come from the technical team only. So apart from managing a vessel, which is like a huge task because of the decarbonization things into play, this data management itself is a humongous task. And again, it comes in the technical team as well. So with the dashboard that we have prepared, we plan to take the load of data quality management. We plan on getting the data verified by the end of December itself, because as previously explained, now the deadlines have changed. Now the deadlines have increased. Now you have to comply with CII, you have to comply with EU ETS, you have to comply with EU MRV. Then again, the timeline will come for fuel EU. There are multiple regulations. The data set will remain more or less same, but the methodology will keep on differentiating. So with Verifavia dashboard, we'll try our best to manage the data quality management and take off this load from your shoulders of the technical team. So allow me to share my screen where I'll take you through the dashboard part. Is my screen visible? All
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you for the confirmation, sir. So this is the landing page of our dashboard. So our IT team will get in touch with you, provide the credentials, and once you log in with those credentials, this will be the landing page. So there are three modules to it. One is the verification, second is the EU ETS, third is the CII. A little bit of background that the first module, that was the verification module, was created right in the beginning of the verification season, where we provide the insight, or where we provide the details of the verification projects that we are undertaking. And let it be EU MRV, IMO DCS, UK MRV, and as long as the projects keep updating, you will get an enhanced view of the projects that we are undergoing, so that you will have a clear idea that where is the data verification status for each vessel. So this is how it's going to look like. For each vessel, you will know that is the analysis is in progress, or is the data verified, or is the verification not even started. Second module is the EU ETS one. So it's the latest development of in our dashboard. So under the EU ETS module, the first tab that you will see is the fleet tab. So in this fleet tab, what we have tried to show you is the consolidated data of a fleet on the historical from 2019 till 2022. So this is the test account. So let's say in 2022, there were 3 ships. This was the total distance, the total transport work. These are the total CO2 emissions, energy efficiency parameters, and the surrenders, allowances to surrender. So what we have tried to show you here is that what would have been the amount that you had to invest in EU ETS if that regulation has been applied since 2022. So based upon the emissions, you can see that for the year 2022, 382,000 was the amount. Then in 23, your number of ships have increased. So has the amount increased, $760,000. Oh, sorry, euros. So this is how this is, you can make out that yes, if the number of ships are increasing, the CO2 emissions are increasing, and then, but obvious, then the price of the EUA allowances will increase. So this was the part where you can see some graphs where the total CO2 emissions breakdown based upon the categories of CO2, total CO2 emissions, again, based upon the EU MRV data, then the total CO2 emissions is the fleet part. Now, if you want to get in detail about each particular vessel, so you can click on the tab ships. You click over, if you click over here, you will get the detailed information about that particular vessel when it comes to EU MRV. So we are seeing that we have mentioned this data for 2023 as well, despite the fact that the data has not been verified for the whole year. So as explained before, so what we try to do is we try to verify the data on a periodic basis. How we are going to do that, I'll explain you after this module. This report is downloadable. If you want to present it to the different parties, you can download this report. Then all the data is present in the tabular format as well. If you want to download this report for all the vessels, you can do it. If you do not want to see any particular parameter, you can unselect it from here. There are some filters as well, based upon the ship type, gross tonnage, and all. Then we have an EU ETS calculator, which can be used to calculate the EU allowances to surrender for the upcoming voyages in the future years, like 24, 25, and 26. So let's take an example of a voyage. So let's say the current price of CO2 is 84 euros. This is the ship type. And let's say the voyage is from Amsterdam till Dibba. And the voyage starts from today and ends after a month. So ends after a month. This is the time at sea. The distance is 10,000 nautical miles. The cargo carried is 20,000. And the fuel type that is planned to be used is MDO, which is 1,500 metric tons of MDO. And if you want to add fuel at berth, you can add fuel at berth as well, of, let's say, 10 metric tons, and you click on calculate. So you can see that in 2024, the total CO2 emissions for this particular voyage is 4841, but the allowances to surrender is 974, and 82,000 approximately is the amount associated with the allowances to surrender. One thing is to be noted that this is just an estimate. This is not a fixed amount. This is not a plan. So this is not a voyage optimization tool that we are providing to you. This is a verification tool. It's used for verification purposes only. This is just an estimated number that yes, the result will somewhere be near about this figure. Then all the calculations are done. They get saved in the history. So you can come back at the later point of time and you can check what was the calculation done today. So coming to the part where we had mentioned that we verify the data of 2023 on a periodic basis. So here is the data verification thing. So what we do is we have two approaches to gather the data. One is the API approach, where we collect the data directly from your system on a periodic basis. The frequency is as low as a week as of now. Later on, when the time demands, the frequency can be reduced to a daily level as well. So one approach is the API approach, where we connect our system to your system through an API, and the data is fetched on a periodic basis. Second approach is the manual approach, where if you are not using any IT system, so you can the data can be provided to us in a standardized format, and it can be uploaded to our system from the backend side. Now, as soon as the data gets uploaded, this system runs its own checks. This system is fully loaded with all the maximum number of checks based upon the averages, based upon the IQRs, based upon the empirical formulas, and customized according to the data that is coming from your system. Not all the systems, as per our experience, not all the systems they provide the same set of data. There might be some differences in the event type. There might be differences in the understanding of the IT system. So the checks are made according to your data. The checks are they are very thoroughly made. And once the system gives you, once the system runs its own set of checks, this is how the data looks like, just for your understanding. So this system is fully compliant with all the correction factors and everything. So once the system runs its checks, it will give you few entries in the incorrect data. And this is where you can see the remarks which are generated by the system. The second level of check is done manually. Why manually? Why? Because sometimes the system might not understand the working or the operations of the ship. So a dedicated auditor, we are a team of marine engineers and naval arcs, those auditors will give a deeper look into the data, and they will make sure that the pertinent questions are raised to the shipping staff or the technical team, whoever is taking care of the data management part. If there is any event missing, if there is no report reported for one particular day, so it will be reflected over here. So all in all, your data is fully covered when it comes to the event reporting part. Coming to the void statements, so we have seen that void statements are very much required. We have concluded from the poll. So this is how the voids looks like on our dashboard. So what happens is the voyages, the voyages looks like this, and this voyage data is separately analyzed by a tool. And if at all you need a void statement, you can let us know from this button. You can mention that please issue the void statement for this voyages. And what will happen is the dedicated auditor will receive a notification on his system, and he will on priority fetch the data for that particular ship, cross verify this voice data with the event data, with the documents like BDN, with the cargo documents, and will issue the voice statement as soon as possible. This whole procedure has been kept manual as of now, because now there is money involved, and we want to keep an extra layer of check just to make sure that the data is absolutely correct without any errors. Because once this data is verified, once this voyage emissions has been, this statement has been issued, the data gets logged, and now the data cannot be changed. So you cannot come to us at the end of December and say that Shubham, please change the data of the month in the month of January because the CI ratings are changing or because the EU allowances are getting higher. So once this verified emission statements are verified, no data can be changed because it is free of error and it has been verified by an independent verifier. So this was all about the data quality part, how we maintain the data quality, how the system is automated, how these things are automatically checked, and before the issue of the statements, how this one quality check has been done by the auditor in charge. Then the third module is the CI module. It's made in the same line. So we are the IMO DCS verifier. So based upon the historical IMO DCS data, we have consolidated it. And you can see that based upon the verified data, so many vessels under each rating. Again, in 2023, the data is not verified yet for the whole year, but like I explained, we are doing the continuous verification. So you can see that based on the data which is fetched till 10th of September, 2 vessels are under A rating, 1 vessel is under D rating, and so on. Again, the same trends. And if you want to deep dive into the ship level, you can click on ships. You can click on this particular vessel, and you will be able to see that what was the ratings maintained by this particular ship since 2019. Now, if you want to know the reason behind the change in the rating, you can click on the bell icons and it will show you a comparative analysis of the data from the previous year so that you will get an idea that what was the change which caused the change in the rating. Then there is a chart which is a CI rating chart. So it's a forecasting chart. So if the ship is performing in the same manner as 23, the vessel will retain a rating till 2026, which is C. Then there is a chart ratio from which you can identify the where does your vessel lie when it comes to one particular rating. Again, this report is downloadable and again, the data can be downloaded in the tabular format as well. We have 2 simulators incorporated in this module. So again, this is a CI simulator, so you can check the CI rating for one particular ship. Let's take an example. The voyage starts from today, ends after a month. The distance is 10,000 nautical miles. And let's say this tanker is an ice class tanker and it is navigating through ice for 100 nautical miles. And the correction factors based upon your EXI technical file, you have to enter it for getting the correct calculation. So let's put some hypothetical values. 1.03. Okay, FM is fixed value 1.05. And because of this 100 nautical miles, 20 metric tons of fuel was used for this particular 100 nautical miles. And the total amount of fuel that was used for this voyage is 1500 metric tons. And you click on calculate. So you can see that the rating for this particular voyage is E. Now, what do you have to do to get C rating? You click over here and you see that you have to reduce your fuel consumption by 37% and speed by 20%. Again, this is an indicative value because this is not a voyage optimization tool. It does not take into account weather condition, health performance, or engine performance. So here you simulated the data based upon the ratings, and you can simulate the data based upon fuel as well. So you see that when you reduce the fuel consumption, the rating is still showing to be C. Now, let's say you do not know that what is the fuel consumption. You do not know what would be the fuel consumption for one particular voyage, but you know that what is the fuel consumption of your ship at one particular speed. Let's say you want to know the CI rating at 16 knots. The distance is 10,000 nautical miles and the fuel consumption is, let's say, 30 metric tons. And the type of fuel that you want to use is MDO. Let's say 100%, no other fuel to be used. So a system will take a confirmation that the ship consumes 30 metric tons of fuel per day at 16 knots, and the difference in the desired speed and the average speed might result in the change in hours under way or date of arrival. So what it means is that right now the date of arrival is 12th of October, but if you click on confirm, according to the 16 knots of speed, the date of arrival has changed from 12 to 8, and the rating is coming out to be C, and the estimated fuel consumption is 781.25. Now you see that, okay, your ratio is 1. It's in the middle range. So you can still increase your speed. So you can check 16.5 and you see that the rating is still C at 16.5. So here you are able to simulate your data based upon the speed, rating, and the fuel percentage as well. Then there is history tab. All the data gets saved in the history. Then we have the comparison tool where you can compare the different ships of a fleet. You can add more ships and you can compare different parameters of your fleet. Lastly, last part, this system is evolving. We are incorporating changes. We are making it more robust on a daily basis. So if at all you want to, if at all you want to, if you want to add some features, more features to it, that yes, Shubham, please add this feature to this dashboard. The system is very much modifiable according to your request. So that was all about the dashboard part. I hope that I was able to answer a few of the questions that were being raised in the chat. Thank you for paying attention. And now the last part will be taken over by my colleague. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Shubham, for the detailed demonstration of our dashboard. Let me just keeping in mind the constraint of the time, I'll quickly walk through the next slides. I hope you can see. I hope you can see the presentation. Okay, so to tackle with these intricacies of the regulation, Verifavia provides a solution of continuous verification. What comes as an input is the data that is recorded by the ships. It is a voyage data, a data in form of legs, and event data. The verification dashboard is able to ingest the APIs as well as the pre-existing formats such as CSV and Excel files. What you see on the dashboard, it is the visualization of the verification process, operational performance of the ship, regulatory conditions, as well as the the evaluation of the operational performance of your ships. You see a complete dashboard which shows you that what is the status of the plausibility checks that are performed on the ship. What you guys get as an output, it is a decision-making support that Verifavia provides. It's an interface for you to check how the vessels have been performing. It's an interface that can be directly linked to the stakeholders of the ship, so that you can make timely decisions. Okay. Then is the data verification flow. As it is visible, the data can be integrated in multiple formats. The data is completely analyzed with set of automated checks. The purpose is to identify the outliers as well as the gaps in the report. After coming to a certain conclusion and coming to a conclusion that we can justify that the data has a reasonable assurance and it can be verified, we provide you the ultimate output, which can be used by the other stakeholders such as carbon emission allowances platform. We have integrated very recently with some with some carbon management platforms that will actually help you maintain and see the overall allowances and ultimately trade in timely trade as well. Okay, so what is that the dashboard offers and why is it best that you opt for it? So it is aligned with the complete EU ETS regulation, including the upcoming updates for the GHG emissions such as methane and N2O. So we are all geared up for the delegated acts, and as soon as they come in, we'll be able to provide you the complete GHG emissions under MRV. But then for CO2, for EU ETS, it is just going to be CO2 for next couple of years. Its ability to link with multiple IT systems. We have linked our dashboard with 6 IT systems, and it is working perfectly fine. And operators are reaping the fruit of it. This is an customizable dashboard where you can customize. You can put in your request, and if you want it to be customized, if you want multiple logins, we will be able to provide you that as well. Okay, so why choose Verifavia? So it's because of our promise of product, process, people. Our product, we offer all verification services under one roof. Verifavia is world's #1 true independent verifier, and the only independent verifier with which is accredited by COFRAC and UCAS and two major flag states to conduct CII and EU ETS verifications. A digitized platform. It provides, it gives you a periodic verification, a continuous verification platform, which doesn't need any installation. Our people, we have a team of highly enthusiastic, experienced auditors who have experience in marine engineering as well as they are naval architects. We all are certified under ISO 17029 to carry out the GHG verifications. Then our promise, we never miss out on promise. We try to fulfill all the deadlines that we promise, and we make sure that you get the final certificates in time. When it comes to the voyage reports and the voyage state emission statements, it will be a prompt response from our end so that you are able to share it with your stakeholders, so that you are able to claim it from the charters or the parties that you need to ask for the allowances. Then our accreditation. So I'll quickly move to our accreditations. So for EU MRV, UK MRV, EU ETS, we are accredited by UCAS and COFRAC. We are also approved by 6 major flag states, including Liberia and Panama. And then there is Palau, there's Dominica Republic, there is Vanuatu and Antigua and Barbuda. For rest of the flag states, we have a collaboration with KR and VINA, and we make sure that all the verification or the GHG emissions services are done by Verifavia for our customers. Then these are some of our esteemed clients. I'll quickly move to the next slide. So some of the IT system with which we have already integrated, and the system is working perfectly fine, and we are able to generate the verification statements as well as we are able to continuously verify the data. Our recent collaborators for EUA management platform, Hecla and Ocean Score. Okay, so keeping in mind the very less time that we have as of now, so we have picked up few questions that we can answer now. But for rest of the questions which are left unanswered today, we will get back to you via emails. You can put in your email IDs here, and we'll try to give you a complete clarity around the regulation, around the services that we are offering. Okay, so I'll have chosen few questions. There's a question that says that, can you elaborate regarding the process of opening of ETS account, when it will be possible to start the process, and if it should be done by a DOC holder? So I think Mr. Nicholas Dushan would be the best suitable person to answer this. Nicholas, would you like to take this?
Yeah, thank you, Rajat. So as for MRV regulations, the European Union has decided that there will be 2 levels of responsibilities, and the main responsibility is with the DOC holder. However, in case it's not easy to identify who is the DOC holder, the owner of the ship has to be the ultimately responsible person. So in practice, I would expect that most of the DOC holders have to create their account on the registry. However, there could be some different clauses in different contracts that say otherwise. At the end of the day, what matters is that emissions from the ship are compensated, and who is in charge of the compensation, it could vary. It has to be clearly established in the associated contracts. And the process itself is similar to the process of opening a bank account. So you have to prove who you are, to prove that you have the legal responsibility to open the account on the name of the company. You have to provide some evidence of registration of the company. And in some cases, depending on the registry on which you have to register, you may have to provide what they call apostille translation of documents. So not a translation that is done by yourself, but a translation done by an approved translator in that country. So depending to which member state an operator or DOC holder is allocated, the process could vary. In any case, it will be a quite administrative process, which can be a bit long. So I would encourage all of you who are DOC holders to start the process soon once the delegated acts have been published, because you need to know to which member state you depend before opening this account, because because the registry account, it's not one for the EU, it's one for each member state. There could be some differences. For example, in France, the authority is taking care of the surrendering directly, so people don't need to have carbon registry accounts in France. The process is a bit different. So because it's a directive, there can be some differences in what in the requirements from one country to another.
Thank you, Nico. Thank you, Nicholas, for handling this question. Okay, I think we can take one last question, and I think it has been a hot burning question around the industry. So how do you monitor methane and NOx? And what would be the emission factor? And what increase in CO2 equivalent emissions are we expecting? So I'll take up this answer. I'll take up this question and try to answer it quickly. So basically, a CO2 equivalent for methane as well as N2O has to be calculated. The guidelines should be clear by the end of this month or the starting of next month. But we have a fair idea how it will look like. So the EU already has a fixed factor, that is the fixed factor for N2O as well as methane emissions, that is the tank to wake emissions, and this would then be multiplied with the global warming potential of that gas, that is methane and N2O, and then a total CO2 equivalent emissions would be calculated. They have already provided a bit of detail in the Fuel EU Maritime Regulation, but then we will refrain from sharing all the information as of now, and we'll see that when it comes into when it is legally adopted and it's available for you, we'll be the first one to share it with you. Thank you. I think we have already overshooted the time. For last comments, I will pass on the mic to Mr. Yuvraj Thakur. Mr. Yuvraj Thakur, if you have last comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our gratitude to everybody who has joined in at the peak of the webinar. I think there were close to 300 people, and now there are more than 200 people. So we've been able to keep the audience. Time management was a bit of an issue our side, but next webinar, we will try to arrange all this important information in a better way. We will share all the presentations with you. And if there are still any burning questions, we'll of course make a list of questions and answer to the person who questioned on the email, if you leave your email addresses. And still, if there is any burning questions regarding IT systems, regarding EU MRV, EU ETS, IMO DCS, CII, as well as any burning question or any need around EEXI and EPL, any need around IHM survey, IHM maintenance, and asbestos removals, please feel free to get back to us. We'll be more than happy to help. Thank you so much, and we look forward to meet you at our next webinar a couple of months away. Thank you and goodbye.